All right, everyone. It's Kevin again, and I'm going to this time. Whoop, like that. Come back here. Talk about the third video. So again, we talked about defining competitors, building a list. We talked about hunting for contacts, and now that we've found those contacts and we know we have the right person, we have their email address. Now it's just a matter of writing that cold email and sending it out, adding them to the email automation program, and we're done. Move on to the next person. So let's talk about writing that cold outreach email and adding them to the actual program, the software that we use. So in this case, the initial message, um, it's going to depend on the type of site that it is for one. Instead of, if it's a submission site, again, it's probably a pretty basic um, submission that people are probably like, here's our requirements, here's what we want from you, just tell us your name and tell us what you want to write about. That email is going to be a lot different than sending an email to a personal connection that you found on LinkedIn, for instance, or their company website. Um, because those other ones, they don't really care too much about all the details, who you are and why you're writing it. And they just want to know the basics. What kind of article are you going to write for me? And what's the topic going to be on? And, how many words is it going to be? And if it's something that fits in their niche, then they'll approve it or they won't. So you really don't have to get too customized with that email and send them something specific because you probably won't even find out who the right person is in that situation. But if it's an individual blogger or a company brand blog, those are the customized ones that we are going to be more concerned with. Again, the submission ones are easy. It's pretty much you don't have to write all that, you know, personal cheesy stuff that you want to have the person like you so that they do work with you or not. They already know. They're just like, hey, just who are you, what do you want, so that's a different email. All right, so let's go over here to the email outreach strategy and the sending out the emails. um, so really we use a software called MailerLite, and what we're going to do is once we found all of the information for those people, okay, we found the company headquarters, we found the main contact's email, the first name, last name, the company name, the position that they work in, if they had any social media handles listed, like their LinkedIn, we probably could have put that here. And then their time zone, again, if that information is available, um, put all that information in. And then same thing with the backup contact. We want to put that in as well. And then once we have all of that information, we really can just import them into our our email software. So there's different ways of doing it. I mean, I don't recommend one over the other, but this is the MailerLite program, and subscribers is where you're going to import the contacts. So really, it's just really going in there and saying add subscribers, and you can either import them from a CSV file, TXT file, copy paste from Excel, just add them one by one, or even if you had an account with MailChimp, which we don't, import them that way. So really there's only three methods here that you would want to use. And if your CSV file was set up correctly, you could just import that. However, our CSV's got a lot of other information in it, so that one's not going to be too desirable for us. Copy paste probably could work, and then single subscriber would work as well. Copy paste is really just like selecting, in this case, the company headquarters all the way to her position, and then we could control C to copy, and then just go over here and copy paste from Excel, and then just paste it here into the window. So if you had the first one, but we also have the backup as well that we would be doing. So doing them both at the same time it doesn't work. It gets confused because you got everything on one line instead of the second contact hitting enter and then pasting in the second contact's information as well. And you'd want to try to put the same information every time as far as the location and just the way everything's laid out so that it imported correctly in here. So once you have the first name, let's just leave it at 1 here. If you were doing single subscriber, it's just fill out the name, fill out the email, fill out the the basic stuff to import it. So here we'll say import subscriber. It'll take you to another page here, and then here you'll have to confirm the information that it thinks you're trying to import. Since you didn't do it on the single subscriber entry, actually saying this is their name, this is their email, here is really just kind of a confirmation. Did the program guess correctly? So in this case, column 1, Birmingham, Alabama. It doesn't really know what that is, so we'd have to tell it that belongs to, in this case, a location. So we won't be able to put them both because actually the way that the software works is they want city on one line, state on another line, country on another line. In this case, we put Birmingham, Alabama, which is the city and state, both on the same line. So we can't pick both in this situation. So I would recommend choose the state and not the city, because really what we care about is the time zone. The city's really not going to make a difference on the time zone like the state will. Most states have boundary lines, unless some time zones go through the middle of states and cities, but you're pretty safe, I think, going with the state in this situation. So we'd say state, email. This one, they want to know what is Suzanne. Is that first name, last name? In this case, it would be just name for first name, and then Smiley Godfreud was the last name, kind of a two last name, double there. And then the name of this is the company, so we'll put company here, and then the director of consumer marketing in this situation is the position. And if you don't see that here because it's not listed, then you'd have to do a new text field in this situation and then state what that is, position, and then you could import it. So again, I don't recommend one way over the other, but I personally like doing it the other way over here, because here it doesn't give you all of the columns sometimes and you have to sit there and figure it out. I like going through the other direction, but I want to show you this way too, in case you prefer doing it this way, because this way sometimes doesn't capture the information correctly. So that's why I like doing it the other way, because it's always right the other way. You always put your information in and you're done. Anyway, so we've put all the information in. There's only a couple things left to do here, and one is to add them to the automation group automatically when we add their name into the database. So by clicking this, yes, import subscriber should start the automation workflow, which means they're going right into the workflow. If you do that, you really don't have the option to send them a custom email, because now they're already part of the automation and they're going to get the first email from the automation. So in this situation, you don't want to do that, because we want to create a custom email for them. So in this case, we'd go ahead and just say finish import, and that would bring them in. I've already imported them, so I'm not going to import them again here. But I'm going to go back to the subscriber page, and I'm going to choose add subscriber and show you the other way, which is add single subscriber, and see how it's really just straightforward. What is their name, what is their email, add a few more fields, so you can add last name, company. In this case, um, I prefer this way because you can add the country, since we didn't have it in the spreadsheet. And again, that helps with time zone. Um, so add the country, and then add maybe the city and the state, and then the date that you added them to the database, and then go ahead and choose to add the subscriber at that point. In this case here, you have groups that you can also choose to add them to. Um, in this case, again, we have to create a custom email. If this was for a submission website, then okay, we could just add them to the. No, actually, we can't. We can't add them to the automation either because they don't need all that information. This adding them to the automation immediately is really only for people that we are not going to customize emails for. So actually right now we're doing some testing to see which way works better, kind of an A/B test. Some we're sending without customizing, and some we are sending customizing, and we just kind of want to see, does it really matter, and kind of what the results is. So we're still kind of in that testing stage. So some of these you will add them straight to the group, and I'll tell you, just add these to the group today. Let's put them in the automation, and then the other ones I'll be like, hey, let's find the contacts for these. So you'll know which way to go with that, but for right now we're doing some testing. So if you were adding them to the automation group, you would say just add to the single subscriber outreach. That would add them automatically to the automation, and they would get that first email, and then you could say add subscriber. But in this case, we're not going to. We're going to customize it, so we would just say add subscriber. Again, I've already created them. They're already in the database, so I'm not going to do that again. What I am going to do now is, now that they're in the database, I'm going to go to the campaigns. And this is where you're going to be able to create that custom email for the individual and the backup. So what I recommend here is doing is basically we're going to create a campaign with a single user in the campaign, and we're going to call that campaign the email address of that person. Okay, that's really the only way it works in this application. There's no easier way to do it. It's a little complicated, but it's the workaround. So it's really just create a campaign, put one person in it, and then name the campaign their email address, so it's easy to distinguish and find later when we do searches to try to find that person. Because all the emails are pretty equal, I mean, they're all pretty much the same for everybody. It's really just the top portion is customized. So this is the best way to do it. So from here, what I recommend is just go over here to the more and copy this to drafts. Okay, and that'll make a copy of that campaign. And then from here, we can customize this by choosing edit in this case, or if we wanted to duplicate or delete again, we could select the little arrow, and here we'll click edit because now we want to do a little customization. In this case, we would want to change the subject line. The sender is always going to be this. The language is always going to be this. Tracking options are always going to be this and this. And then the recipient is going to be that one unique person. And we need to change it again for each new person. So if this was the email for Suzanne here, I'm just going to copy her email address, and then we'd go over here to edit field, and we would change the name to hers and save, and that'll update the email address for save. There we go. And we can verify that here by looking and seeing that the email address has been changed. Again, the only other thing we need to do now is we need to customize the subject line, and we need to customize the top of the email. So from here it would just be edit content. And here's where the customization comes into play. So for the research that we did on the individual, we'll have something to connect with here in this first paragraph or two, depending on how much you're writing about. The rest of this is from here down is template that can stay the same for the rest of the emails. So in this case, I did a little more customization for that one particular person as I found more information to talk about. So I made it a little bit longer. But either way, if this doesn't apply, you can delete it. And then same thing with this one here. You can customize it for that specific person. But everything else should stay the same. Don't change anything up here in the intro. Unless you want to change the word hi to greetings or something a little different. But we need to leave this here. This is going to pull their name from the database that we added earlier, so we don't have to type their name individually. And it's going to take their first name only, not the last name. Notice it says name there, but it'll take that first name. And then down at the bottom, everything else will stay the same. So we'll leave the header, the footer, and then we got another header here for the start of what is just really an RSS feed showing our newest blog articles. And you can see them published here. And then the company information down at the bottom for unsubscribing. So really, as far as customizing, like I said, really just we would go in here, we would write the email customization in here, and then save the email here. You could choose done editing. That will take you back to the screen that we were on before. If you choose save, it just stays on the same page in case you want to make more edits. I recommend periodically saving if you're spending a lot of time on the page, just in case computer crashes, internet goes out, something happens like that, you don't lose any of your work. And then I also recommend doing a preview and a test, and that's just as a matter of going to the preview mode and taking a look at what it would look like in a desktop application and a mobile application, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. Just get a visual proofread, make sure you didn't type anything, no errors. Make sure you have Grammarly browser extension enabled so that it will do the grammar and spelling checks and everything for you as you're working. And then the mobile version, again, just kind of get a view of what it looks like. And everything looks good. So if everything looks good, we'll just hit the X to go back. We could also do a preview, send a test to ourselves to verify that it is going to look and display the way we anticipate it to look in their inbox, because the view that we just looked at where it showed a preview, it doesn't actually have all that email information like the header and the all that other good stuff that comes along with email at the top. So it might get tourniqueted, it might get cut off, might be too long for the page, etc. So it's a good idea to do a test to yourself first, just to make sure that it comes looking like you expect it to look. And so put in that email address for test and hit send and check it when it arrives, and if it's good, then I would say go ahead and choose done editing. And now we know we have all the good information there. So create a custom subject line here. So really just hit edit and create a nice catchy subject line. In this case, you could use AI tool to help you create a compelling, title, subject line. I mean, so you could say in like ChatGPT or Bing AI or Bard or whatever your favorite AI program is, Claude or something. It doesn't matter, and just say, create me a subject line for a personal uh, cold outreach marketing email um, regarding content creation, and give me 5 ideas or something like that. You know what I mean? And it'll draft you up some nice catchy subject lines that'll get better open rates probably. And then go ahead and save that. And then once you have everything in here, really we can schedule our campaign. So really this is scheduling our one initial email. This is not part of the automation group yet. So what we have to do in this case is if you say send now, then we can add them directly to the automation after that email. But if we say send later, then we need to make sure that we add them to the automation tomorrow. So you need to keep a running list of who received the email and who did not. And in this case, we would say based on time zone. And in this case, the time zone, we would say this is their time zone. Remember, we put them in the database and we said they lived in the state of Alabama. So whatever time zone the state of Alabama in the United States is in, that's the time zone that you are choosing in this step. Okay, so now we just got to say what time do we want them to get that email, and if we choose something good like a 10 a.m., that's a good time to receive it. But here we don't have the right date, so if we say Monday. And then we say we wanted to. Actually, it's too late for Monday, I think, already at this point. That's the only thing bad about the using the time zones is sometimes you've already missed the cutoff for the 10 a.m. maybe the next morning, and so you got to pick like on the next day after that. And then pick the 10 a.m. for the next day. So it might actually be Tuesday until they get the email. So I would write it down on your list and say, this is the time. Whenever you put this time in here, you need to write that time on your spreadsheet as well. That is when they got the email. So you can then add them to the list. And again, that's if you're basing it on the time zone. If we don't base it on the time zone, again, this is something we're testing too. I would just say send it now. That way it's just easy. You don't have to remember, did I send it to them? Did I forget? Some you'll probably forget. And then some every day you'll be like, I got to add these other people. Oh, I got to add them. And it might be very hard to keep up with because you're doing this with so many people. So if that's the case, we would just say go ahead and send now. Or you could say set up a schedule to send your campaign at a specific time on that same day. But I would say it just depends, what time zone you're in. If you send later, again, you can't add them to the automation until after they get the email sent out. Same thing with the based on time zone. Again, if you have to wait till that initial email gets sent to them before you can add them to the automation group. So sometimes it works better to just send now. A lot of times I've been doing that as well, just because I forget all those other people, and every day I'd have to put like 2, 3, 5, 10 people in the list, and it's going to get too much after a while. So if you just say send now, it's sometimes just easier. But say send now, you'll click send, boom, email's gone. And then at that point, you'll come back to this screen And then at this point, it's just a matter of adding them to the automation system at that point. So it's really just adding them to a group. So in this case, if we want to add this person to a group, what we have to do is, let me see if I remember now, I forgot. um, oh, we're adding their email address, that's right. So we would take this person's email address, since it's the same as the actual campaign name, just copy that, and then we need to go to the subscribers list and find that person. Okay, so once you're here into the actual list, we can search for that person, and I would just put his name for an example, and it would show me then that person. And now here I just need to click on him, his name, and then I need to add him to a group. Let me see here. Where did I do that at? I think I went the wrong way. I'm still new to using this program as well. So where do we go? Where do we go? We gotta find. Let me do it this way. Control find. There he is. Okay. And then once we find him, at that point we need to check his name, and then we can do an action here to add to group. And then once we add him to a group, it's going to say, okay, what group do you want to add him to? And that's when you would then choose the automation group, and they would be added to that list, and then get that first initial email. So at this point, I'm not going to tell you the name of the group and all that, because things keep changing. But that is really everything that's going to be listed on this information here about how to add them to the email marketing application, and how to do everything that I just talked about. So really that's it as far as adding them into the email automation and sending out that customized email. So if you have any questions, just let me know. I will tell you what group to put them into once you start working, so don't worry about that. But if you have any other questions or any other hiccups, feel free to reach back out to me, because everything else as far as the program goes is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you really don't have to do anything else in here. It's really just going into campaigns, creating that initial campaign, and sending out that custom email. And then again, just once you send out that custom email, you're going to go to the subscriber list, you're going to find their name, and you're going to add them to the automation group. Simple, done. Move on to the next person. Remember, you're sending to two people at the same company, so you would do the same thing for the second person. Put them into the group after, but again, they would get a single campaign, just like the first person. So every single person is going to get their own campaign, and again, MailerLite they don't have a way of sending a single email to somebody. Everything is done by groups or segments. So in this case, we just put one person in it. Okay, so it's really just that easy. Again, have any questions, let me know. All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.